so this is my first problem, and the first step I'm going to do is identify my angle of reference. Once I have my angle of reference, the side that's directly across from it is what we call the opposite side. The one that's never going to change, or the side that's never going to change, is the hypotenuse, which is either the longest side or the one across your 90. And the one next to the angle is what we call the adjacent side. And so then from here, the two things that I'm going to circle are the two things that I need. One, the thing I need information for, so in this case the opposite side, and two, the side I have information for, which is in this case is the hypotenuse. From here I'm trying to figure out which trig function has both the opposite and the hypotenuse in it. And so for me, that trig function is sine, because sine is opposite over hypotenuse, right? And here my angle of reference is theta. And so that's kind of how I'm going to set up my equation. So I start sine of my angle of reference, which was 67, equals the opposite side, which in this case is x, over the hypotenuse, which is 29. Now, because 29 is at the denominator, we bring that over and multiply it in front with that sine of 67. So what that looks like is 29 times sine of 67. So there's a couple ways we can do this. One, if I take my calculator, and this is from Desmos, and I'm looking at a scientific calculator, then I'm going to put exactly what I have here, exactly how I see it. Now for Desmos, it's pretty easy. So I'm literally going to type in 29 sine of 67. So in my Desmos calculator, one, make sure that you are in degrees. Here are your functions, and so remember, we're going to put it exactly how we saw it. So we have 29 times sine of 67 degrees, and I'm going to double check, make sure that was the correct one. So 29 times sine of 67, 29 times sine of 67, hit the equal button, and we have our answer here. So they would tell you round either to the nearest tenth, hundredths, etc., etc. So here we're going to round it to 26.7. So x equals 26.7. So let's say that you didn't have a Desmos calculator. Well, we can simply use our calculator that's built into the computer. So if you pop it up, it should be your standard regular calculator. To change it into a scientific calculator, you hit the little 3 bars. And here are all the options, but we want a scientific calculator. Now, this one you got to be a little bit more careful, because all of your calculators may be a little bit different and how you input it. Like for example, an iPhone calculator is different than an Android calculator, so be on the lookout for those. So here here's what I mean. So if we go to our trigonometry, we see final functions here, right? So if I put sine and then I try to put 67 inside, notice how it did not take it, right? And so that's what I mean, we got to be careful. So for this particular case, we have to start with putting the angle of reference first. So the angle was 67, and I want the sine function, and you notice right here it shows you sine of 67, right? And if I hit enter, that's giving me that sine of 67 is 0.92. What's left for me to do is multiply that sine function times 29. And if you notice, we get the same thing, 26.69. We're going to round it to 26.7.